Hi, welcome to this lesson on OT in the school-based setting. As always, there are objectives for this lesson. After viewing this presentation, you should be able to understand the role of OT and the common service delivery models used by OTs in the school-based setting, articulate key components of the IDEA, and explain the different components of an IEP. Occupational therapy has a long history of providing services in the school-based setting. Practice in schools is influenced by an educational model versus the more traditional medical model, which requires a unique set of skills and knowledge for occupational therapists working within education. School-based OTs must apply not only a sound understanding of occupational therapy's domain of practice, but be able to do so within the context of the school system. In order to do so, it's important to understand federal and state regulations, common evaluation and intervention approaches used in school, how to write or contribute to individualized education plans, and how to use collaboration strategies with other disciplines, teachers, and providers within the school. Some of these things will be covered in this lesson, while others will be discussed in our face-to-face meeting, as well as in your other courses this semester. In an educational setting, OTs focus on helping students participate in meaningful and purposeful daily occupations at school. OT is directed at restoring function, adapting school tasks, modifying classroom environments, and contributing to the health and promotion of the school. There are a wide variety of service delivery methods within the school-based setting, but they're broadly organized under direct services or indirect services. Direct services include an OT working one-on-one with a student, providing services in small groups, or providing services in large groups. These services can take place in a number of settings, including in the classroom, on the playground at recess, in the lunchroom, or in a therapy room. Indirect services can be provided on behalf of the child or to provide program supports. In this case, the OT works with a range of clients, including general and special educators, parents, and paraprofessionals. An example of an indirect service would be an OT consulting with a classroom teacher to modify instructional materials and methods for a specific student. Another example might be developing and presenting an educational in-service for school staff or parents regarding fine motor development and handwriting. Overall, collaboration is a key component in school-based practice. Under Part B of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, occupational therapy is considered to be a related service, meaning a developmental, corrective, and supportive service required to assist a child with a disability to benefit from their special education services. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, requires that state and public educational agencies provide a free and appropriate public education to children with disabilities in the least restrictive environment. This legislation also guarantees parents and children with special needs certain rights within the educational setting. A free and appropriate education means that special education and related services, including OT and PT, must do the following. First, the public education must meet the standards of the state education agency. It needs to be provided at the public's expense. It must be under public supervision and direction. It must include an appropriate education at the preschool, elementary school, and secondary levels, and it must be provided in accordance with the child's individualized education plan. The least restrictive environment, or LRE, mandate states that students with disabilities must receive their educational program, including all academics and related services, with students who are not disabled to the maximum extent that's appropriate. It does not guarantee that all students will receive services within general education classrooms for the duration of the school day, but instead it means that the IEP team must first consider general education as potentially meeting the student's needs before considering more restrictive settings such as a special education classroom. Depending on the child's individual educational needs, students may receive supports and services in more than one setting. Here is a visual representation of the process of a child receiving school-based services. First, the child is referred for an evaluation due to concerns about development or behavior. This evaluation can include multiple disciplines, including OT, depending on what the concerns are for the student. If a child is found to be eligible for services, a team meeting will take place, which would include the parents of the student and potentially the student depending on their age. And at that meeting, the Individualized Education Plan, or IEP, is developed. At this point, interventions are provided by various disciplines depending on what is stated in the IEP. In addition, the setting in which the services and supports will take place is also listed. Ongoing monitoring and reporting is occurring until it is time for the student to be reevaluated. While the IEP is reviewed annually by the team, formal reevaluation only occurs every 3 years. Depending on the results of the reevaluation, a new IEP will be written and services will continue, or the student will be discharged from services. The Individualized Education Plan, or IEP, is the formal planning process and resulting legal document that establishes the services and programs that will enable the child to participate in school activities and receive an appropriate education. An IEP must include a statement of the child's present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, which should include how the child's disability affects the child's involvement and progress in their general education curriculum, or for preschool children, how the disability affects the child's participation in appropriate preschool activities. It should also include a statement of measurable annual goals, including academic and functional goals, that are designed to meet the child's needs and address the issues that result from the child's disability. It should also include a description of how the child's progress towards meeting the annual goals will be measured and when periodic reports of the child's progress will be given. A statement of the special education and related services, as well as supplementary aids and services, based on peer-reviewed research, will be provided to the child, and a statement of the program modifications or supports for school personnel that will be provided to the child should also be stated. In addition, an explanation of the extent, if any, to which the child will not participate with non-disabled children in the regular classroom should be stated. A statement of any individual appropriate accommodations that are necessary to measure the academic achievement and functional performance of the child on state and district-wide assessment should be included, and the projected date for beginning the services and the anticipated frequency, location, and duration of services should be included in the IEP. One of your online activities for the week is to practice applying the occupational therapy practice framework to the education setting. So be sure to complete that activity and email me if you have any questions, or we can talk about it during our face-to-face meeting this week. In wrapping up, I'll review the main takeaway points of the presentation. School-based settings are very unique, and they're guided not only by a strong understanding of the domain and practice of OT, but by legislation within the education system as well. The IEP is the legal document that describes a child's services, and best practice in OT involves providing services in natural school contexts under a variety of service delivery methods. Hopefully now you feel like you have a better understanding of the role of OT in this specific setting, as well as the most commonly used service delivery models. You should be able to articulate the main components of IDEA that impact OT practice and explain the components of an IEP. Thanks for listening.